channel bringing smiles to the world. We're hitting first base. Marty Lurie with friends. Home run, you know the ways and the trends of stories all with the match of the block. It's Marty and friends. Marty and friends.
I love it. You know that. That is Ruby Barmay with the opening song to Marty Lurie and friends, talking ball, talking baseball. Here we are again on this Thursday. The Giants lose today. My God, what happened? They lost today to Texas, 7-3, and that 8-game winning streak is over. But it is spring training. They're 13-4, and it's been a lot of fun. Our guest tonight, as you can see, Glenn Kuiper, broadcaster right there, and Sean Hjelle is with us tonight, and of course the right-handed pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. So, Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Yeah. This week, what do you think of the 8-game winning streak? Does it get to you guys like the fans try to get into it?
It was funny. I honestly, no one really talked about it. I didn't know it was an 8-game winning streak until I heard it today on the broadcast or something or whatever. I mean, it's just, I think I can't remember if I mentioned it last time on the show but I've mentioned it to some people before. I mean, everybody just showed up to camp this year, and it was just an unspoken, like, we're just going to show up and work. Like, we're just going to go about our business. We're going to work. We're going to do the things that we got to take care of, and just put our heads down and go. And so it was funny. Nobody in the clubhouse really had talked about that or even mentioned that before. Then I found out today it was an 8-game win streak.
Wow. Glenn, what do you think? 8 game, look,
well,
you play, you win 8 in a row, it's okay.
Yeah, and it's spring training's it's great because if you lose 8 in a row, as a fan, you can say, the games don't mean anything. But if you win 8 in a row, you're like, hey, it's good to win. Right. So you're in a good spot either way, but you watch the game a little closer, like the players do and the staff and everybody. And you do see that the Giants are playing really good fundamental baseball, and the things that Bob Melvin made clear that he wanted his team to work on and get better at this year, they have shown improvement in spring training. So I think that's a big deal. And Sean knows a big thing with the pitchers was let's walk fewer people, and the numbers are showing that they are walking fewer people. And offensively, Bob said we got to be better in different situations. We got to be fundamentally better offensively, and they've showed that in spring training defensively as well. So I think that's probably the best way to look at it is all those little things that we wanted to see the Giants improve on. They have improved on those things in spring training, and that's great news. And there's no reason to think why those improvements can't carry on into the regular season.
Watching the game today, seeing the Giants, it's just the way they play the game. You know what I mean? Defensively and the hustle. And, the regulars are playing quite a bit. And, you're a pitcher, you come in the game, you'll turn around. You got a nice defense behind.
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of it, especially has to do with our ballpark. I mean, we talk about all the time, especially as a staff, that with the ballpark that we play in, like we're going to play a lot of 1, 2, 3-run ball games. And so every out counts, every inch, every ground ball, everything, it matters. And even just one run, it could be a lot of 1-run ball games out there. So yeah. It's very, very important, and it's huge for us just with our ballpark and how we want to go about succeeding.
All right, one of your buddies is here, and that is Landen Roupp, and I'll let Sean start it off with Landen.
Rupert, where are you at right now?
I am at the Global Ambassador, coming here for dinner.
Ooh, what are you gonna order?
Dinner at 6:30.
What are you gonna order? What are you gonna get?
I don't know, first timer. So we'll
First
see.
time.
I don't even know what's on the menu.
You're good. You're good. You're a good country boy. Get you a nice little slab of meat with some potatoes.
You know I will. Probably see if they got a 32 ouncer or something.
Sounds like
All
a
right.
good old North Carolina guy right there. Outdoorsman. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I saw
Yeah.
a video this offseason. Some guy proposed to his fiance out in the woods, and then he saw a deer and was hunting, and he got
yeah.
the deer. And I think he was more excited to get the deer than he was to get engaged. And I could have sworn that was Landen Roupp. I mean, it's the same
Yeah, I
same
saw
thing.
I think we were in the clubhouse when you showed me that. You're like, is
Yeah, I
this you?
did. Uh-huh. All
So
right,
I
so
landed.
I remember that.
Rupert, I'm curious. I'm curious, man. You came into camp like you were a man on a mission. You were not to be messed with. I mean, it was different. You looked good. Like, what was that just a you like in the off season? Like you ended last year well, and just going into this off season into camp, you were just like, I'm gonna be a man on a mission. Like, I'm just gonna be a bat out of hell and just get after it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of always the mentality, is just to come into camp and impress and, you know, show what you've been working on all off season. So, and I can say the same thing about you. you've been throwing the ball well too. So,
I appreciate it.
but yeah, I mean you're welcome. The cutter and the changeup have really helped my arsenal, and, you know, just keeping guys off the fastball and curveball. Like last year, early on, a lot of hitters were just sitting curveball on me, and when I wasn't spotting up my two seam, it made it pretty easy for them to just, you know, take control of the curveball. So having those 2 extra pitches is really exciting for me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Landon, did you? I mean, have you had those 2 extra pitches? You just didn't use them a lot last year, or did you work on a couple extra pitches in the off season, or how did those 2 new pitches, which, I mean, they're really noticeable when you throw. It's like, because, you know, we remember it was curveball, fastball, and now I've seen some swings and misses on what looks like a nasty changeup. So did you have them last year? You just didn't use them?
Yeah, I've always had a changeup. It's never been like a confidence pitch for me. It's always just been like, I was talking to somebody the other day, like when Patty or someone would call it, I would immediately like question it, and that just like right there, it just needs to be thrown out of the equation, because, you know, if you're questioning a pitch already, it's probably not going to go your way. So, but so like I said, I've always had a changeup, but it's never been comfortable for me until I think middle of the season last year. I think we were in Boston. I was in the bullpen, and I told G to radio down, and I told him to say, let Patty know that I'm throwing everything I got, and like I don't care where it goes, how hard it gets hit, or what happens. I'm just throwing all my pitches, and I ended up throwing more changeups that game than 2 seams. I think I saw a tweet after that game. It's kind of funny that everybody was worried my fastball velo had gone down because I was throwing it at like 89, something like that. So, but no, the cutter is completely new. I tried last year, and it kind of just turned into that bigger slider I had that was a little harder. And I was talking to JP, and I was like, I might as well keep it, because I'm throwing the slider harder than I ever thrown it. I think I was throwing it 84, 86, and it was different than my curveball. And this year, I came up to him. I was like, I'm gonna go away from the slider. I'm gonna solely focus on throwing a cutter, and G helped me out with a grip, and it's kind of just stuck. So I'm really excited about that pitch for sure. But yeah, I wouldn't say I've always had them. I've definitely never had the feel with the changeup that I do now. So that's exciting. Gives me more confidence against lefties for sure.
Sean, when you watch Landon pitch, what do you see from the bench or wherever you are?
Well, like I said, this year so far in camp, it's been a man on a mission. I mean, he's up there. It's any pitch, any time, and it's impressive. It's fun to watch. It's elite stuff. And I can only imagine same for me. Last year, you threw in that cutter, and it just opens up the doors for lefties all the time, right? I mean, you just get them on their back heels, and opens up that changeup, and it opens every avenue for you to go attack them. So it's been fun to watch Uber so far this camp. And I mean, at the end of last year too, you ended last year on a tear too. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm sure you probably do, Rupert, but you ended last year on a good scoreless streak, didn't you?
Yes, except the last start. I had a pretty good run there into the last start against the Cardinals. But
So you guys have been in the bullpen together in last year, and I'm always curious. I mean, you guys spend a lot of time together with 7 or 8 guys, and you got a couple coaches down there. Who's the funniest guy down there, or at least last year when you guys were both down in the bullpen?
Whew.
I got my pick. Let's hear you go first, Jelly.
Man, it's a good collective. I'll tell you that much. We definitely we all play off each other, like you said. We know each other really well, so we got a lot of grief to air out and a lot of inside jokes going on. If I got a single one guy,
you can count on a good laugh. He'll give you a good laugh once a game.
I'm gonna cop out. Last year, the Rogers twins were a good 1-2 punch. They play well off each other. It was good dry delivery. It was pretty awesome. They're a good 1-2 punch.
That's my exact answer. I was going.
Yeah.
I was more so going with Tay. I was going with Taylor, but they're a deadly combo when they're together. It's just back and forth, funny stuff, 24/7. So I love those guys.
Okay, I'll put you on a spot here, both of you guys. Who's the guy in the bullpen who talks too much, and you just really want to go, okay, you need to stop talking for a couple innings. You're killing me. Jeff.
He's raising his hand.
It's me. I already. It's me. You don't save your breath, Rupert. I already know the answer to that one.
I was about to say he's raising his hand.
When Beck got down there at the end of the year when he got healthy, him and I were fighting for that one. That's for sure. But yeah, it's me.
Hey, you're a nice guy, right? You're a friendly guy. You just want to chat with people.
Sure. Yeah. I appreciate it. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. Here's my final bullpen question. What percentage of what you guys talk about is baseball compared to non-baseball?
90%.
90% what?
90% is not about the game.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you what that 90% is, but that's good to know.
It's not like we're not locked in. Like, we're still paying attention to the game. We're just having those side conversations while watching the game. You gotta keep it light down there.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
All right, Sean, what's your topic? What's your favorite thing, to talk to these guys about?
I one with, we got Logan and Robbie and Justin and all these other guys that have a lot more time than I do. So I'm not necessarily the first pool of answers, but I always talk to guys. For me, I like to just talk about like the mental side of everything and just dealing with the adversity of the business side of everything. I mean, I've got parts of 3 seasons. I mean, between 2022 and 2023, I got like 70 days or something like that. I used all 5 of my options in all those years. Like I rode the taxi cab, and for guys that were doing that this past year or in the coming years, like just talking them through that and just being a sounding board for them, and just being somebody that's been in those shoes before and talking them through it, because it's tough. I mean, it's hard to pitch well and then get optioned, because you're kind of sitting there going like, well, like, what more do I need to do? Like I had a good outing, somebody got healthy, and I get sent down to AAA or whatever it may be. So it's tough to go through that and just understand the business side of things, right? And you got to stay up, and you got to stay with your process and your routine of everything, because that phone call to send you back up is right around the corner. It could happen at any point, whether it be an injury or even a sickness or whatever have you. So I feel like most of my conversations are talking guys through that, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Roop, you and I had some of those conversations last year. There were some moments where, that's exactly what happened to you. You pitched well and you got optioned, and it sucks. Like, there's no other way to put it. It does. It sucks. And just being able to go down to AAA and still know that, like, I'm good enough to do this. I'm a major league pitcher. I just kind of have to, pay my dues a little bit. I gotta wait a little bit more. Yeah, wait your turn, whatever it may be. I feel like that's a huge part of all this that not a lot of people realize is that mental grind of going through something like that and riding that metaphorical taxi cab between Sacramento and San Francisco.
So, Landon, how do you do it? And how do you keep that good attitude about yourself? Look, you're having a great spring. You know, you're in the mix here for that fifth starter spot. Every time out, you look like you've got it. How do you keep the mental side together?
Yeah, I think most of it is just, confidence in yourself. Like, regardless if, you get sent down, like Jelly said, it's just part of the business as a young player. Even, the first time I got sent down last year, I was pretty mad. I don't think I talked to anyone before I left the locker room. I kind of stormed out of there and went to the hotel room, and then I ended up getting called up the next night. So it wasn't that bad for that long, but because I think that's when Snell got hurt. But yeah, I think it's just confidence in yourself, knowing that you can be there and you can perform there, and it's just I think when I got optioned last year, it was always like a numbers game. Kind of you're down for a couple of days. We need another pitcher, things like that. So if I had to put anything on it, I would say confidence. Just kind of what Sean said, just keeping your mentality and knowing you're going to be there. And it's just in time.
And you know what, Sean, I want to see if you agree with me. Like, I like watching Landon pitch for a bunch of reasons, but he's got a little strut on the mound, and he comes across as being very confident out there, which I like. That's one of the reasons I love Verlander, because Verlander just walks out to the mound like, I'm a Hall of Famer, I'm really good, and you're probably not going to get a hit. And he can be getting knocked around. And Landon's got a nice little strut out on the mound, and I like that. Do you guys see that as well in him? Absolutely.
I mean, I think the best way to put it is like you're not out there to make friends. You're not trying to make friends with the other team and make them try and show that you're a nice guy or a cool guy or whatever on the mound. Like, you're out there to get outs. Plain and simple. That's all it is. And so whatever you got to do to get in that mindset to get outs, put up zeros, that's what you got to do. And yeah, Rupert's got a nice intensity to him for sure.
Yep.
He sees some red out there sometimes, and I like it. I mean, we all do. We all do. We get that. I jokingly say that Full Metal Jacket look where he's kind of like looking through his eyebrows, and it's just like I said, whatever you got to do to get the job done. You're not out there to make friends.
Yeah, he's got Landon. You got a little badass look to you when you're on the mound, and I think that's good.
Well, I appreciate that. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
Look,
I do feel like a different person when I'm between the lines.
I'm a kid from Brooklyn. For me, it was a big deal to see a squirrel. This guy is a hunter. This guy hunts, and killed a bear. Which I want you to tell the story very briefly. What's the most scared you've ever been on doing some hunting? If something could have happened to you, because you're scared there, but on the mound, man, you've got it together. So tell me.
You want to hear the bear story? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, let's hear the bear story first. I don't want to hear the most scared you've ever been as a hunter.
Well, that one was, it got my heart beating a little bit, a lot more than when I'm on the mound, I can tell you that much. But no, this is honestly my first time ever bear. I've been, but I've never tried to kill one or anything like that. But I'm with my buddy, and we're running dogs. We let the dogs out, and we're riding the four-wheeler, just checking for tracks because we weren't really hitting on much. And ended up, we're on this side of the farm, and it's our hunting club. So we're on this side of the farm, and the dogs are running on the other side of the farm. So we haul tail back that way, and ended up the bear was coming right at me and my buddy. And I'm talking about, I don't have a gun. He don't have a gun. Only thing I got is a little pistol on my hip, and I ain't going to do much to a 450-pound bear. But the bear's coming right at us, and I'm talking about from me to probably 10 yards in front of me, and you can just hear him busting down the trees. It sounds like a bulldozer coming through the woods. And I swear, me and him looked eye to eye. And as soon as we looked eye to eye, he turned around, and I think I harvested him probably 30 minutes later after that. So when he was running at me, full speed, not a care in the world other than getting out of there, my heart was pumping pretty hard on that one because I had no defense at all. It was I was either his dinner or he was gonna run away, one or the other.
Come on. So is he going to worry about coming in with first and third and 2 out? No. What is he?
Yeah, that's nothing compared to 50,000 angry Dodgers fans screaming at you in LA.
Landon,
But I would say
Landon,
the
you got a
most.
ball.
I wouldn't say I'm ever real scared in the woods, but your heart does start pumping when you wake up at 3:30 in the morning and you got to walk in pitch dark a mile back in the woods, and you're hearing every little movement, and you don't know what it is. You have no idea. Because when I walk through the woods, like morning hunts, I don't carry a flashlight because that just completely scares the deer away. So I'm completely going on hearing and just trusting myself to make it there before something happens. So I would say every morning I go hunting is a little intimidating, but it's not. I'm never scared because, but I will tell you, this is funny, and I think I can speak for every hunter. When you hit the ladder of your deer stand, all the worries go away. It's like nothing can get you ever again when you're up in a deer stand. I don't know why, but it's like everything that was out there can no longer touch you. But
Landon, you ever hunt bow and arrow?
I used to as a kid, and then I actually picked it up again last year. So that's my main goal this coming up season after baseball season is to harvest a deer with a bow and maybe even a bear with a bow. So we'll see about it.
Yeah, Will Clark told us stories. Didn't he, Glenn, about that? Doesn't he go hunting with a bow and arrow?
Yeah, I think so. And some people, I mean, I have friends back in the Midwest who are big hunters, and they don't want to use guns. They think it's more of a challenge to use bow and arrow. So whatever. I'm gonna stay inside. That's what I'm gonna do. But if you want to use bow and arrow.
Well, Landon, I know you got to go to dinner, so I'm going to let you run. But you're in this competition. Does it matter to you, starting or relieving? Does it matter?
It matters to me personally. I wouldn't say it matters on the field as much as it does to me. I want to be a starter. I've always been a starter.
Okay.
I think that's what I was kind of born to do, is to start and throw a lot of pitches, a lot of innings or whatever. But when it comes to the team, whatever the team needs, I'm there. I'll be there in the bullpen if that's what they need. I'll be there as a starter if that's what they need. So I wouldn't say it matters in the aspect of the team, but to me it does. But it's not going to change. It's not going to change my mentality on the mound. I'm still going to be who I am, regardless if I'm a starter or a reliever.
Well, good stuff.
Awesome. Good luck, Landon. We're pulling for you, and don't eat too much. All right.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed being on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. All right. Thanks, Landon. All right.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
That's great. That's a good old North Carolina boy right there, isn't it, Sean?
He sure is.
Isn't there something to that? Seriously. You look at the way a guy grows up, you look at the confrontations he's had along the way, and then you're right, 50,000 crazy Dodger fans screaming, and here's a guy who's standing there watching a bear. There's something to that as to the makeup of the person. I think there's something there. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he can stare down a bear, I mean, he can walk into any MLB stadium. He'll be just fine.
Yeah. Right, Glenn?
No question. And you know what? It's the first time I've seen him smile. I mean, I don't know Landon much, but it was nice to see him smile. But I love his intensity when he's out there. I mean, I think that's, yeah. And I remember last year, Sean, and I'm curious to see how you felt about it when you saw it. But Marty, you and I saw it last spring training. We had heard about Landen Roupp, but we didn't know anything about him. And he was just kind of there as an extra guy. Hey, if we need him to come in a game early to get one of our starters out, fine, no big deal. But then he threw a couple bullpen sessions. Bob Melvin saw it. Brian Price saw it, and it was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I remember, Sean, he then pitched to hitters at Scottsdale Stadium on the main mound, and he was nasty. And I remember Bob Melvin saying, this kid could be special, and we didn't know much about him, a month ago. And then he made the team, and he was not expected to make the team. What do you remember about that, where sort of the Landen Roupp talk, wow, this he's special? It all really started last year in spring training. What did you guys hear about it, and what do you remember about that?
Well, first hearing about Roupp, like when he got drafted and was coming up and whatnot, it was all about his curveball. I mean, his curveball is an elite pitch. It's a anytime, any count, put away, get ahead, whatever pitch. I mean, he can do that, and that was kind of what you heard all about him. And then kind of the same thing. They just love watching him throw for the first time, actually getting a chance to watch him throw. I mean, you just sit there and you go, okay, all of this is good. I mean, he's got elite level sinker. He's got power behind it. He can spin it. He can, move it. Like it's impressive. So it was really no shock that he was able to make the team out of camp last year and have success at the major league level. I mean, he's got the stuff for sure. And he's like he touched on, he's getting that confidence out there. He's getting more comfortable with it. It's fun to watch. It's impressive.
Yeah, I like it. Eric joins us. Eric, how are you?
Doing well, Marty. How's it going? Glenn, good to see you. Sean,
Eric.
nice to meet you.
All right. We'll take a short break. I've got some good questions for Sean. The one movie that he didn't get to see, I want to ask him that. He also took a college course from the same professor about 8 times. Now, as I grew up, I'm Animal House in Gainesville. So if we took the same course 8 times, we knew why, and we were going to get an A. But you're actually a student, so we're going to take a short break, come back, and talk to Sean Hjelle right after this.
It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Fans, joining us is Grant Power, President and CEO of Nations. Grant, last year we talked about the amazing breakfast at Nations. I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite lunch?
I'm pretty split. I guess I'm kind of like a pitcher who has 2 favorite pitches they like leaning on. I'd say half the time I do the hamburger and half the time I do the wild salmon burger. It really depends on which protein you want. We love our beef supplier in Northern California. We've been with them for decades. We test our beef all the time. We sell ocean caught wild salmon. Friends don't let friends eat farm salmon. It's absolutely delicious. To mix it up, I guess it's like a pitcher who has a 2-seamer and a 4-seamer, or maybe a 4-seamer and a cutter. I actually go grilled onions on my hamburger half the time and raw onions the other half. Today at lunch, I got the French fries, but half the time I get the onion rings, and I had a wonderful slice of pecan pie. There's something for everybody, whether you like hot dogs or grilled cheese. It's really up to the individual what mood they're in, but my go-to is either the beef with the hamburger or the wild salmon, which is absolutely delicious.
Wow. I love it. Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations. Grant, thanks so much.
Pleasure being on.
All right. Eric, nice job.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. And, of course, Ryan, our producer, does a great job, too. All right, Sean Hjelle. If you have a classic movie that you haven't watched, what would it be?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Come on, man. How did you miss that?
I watched a lot of the classic movies I got growing up. My dad had AMC channel on all the time, and it just never popped up. You know, it was a lot of the Dirty Harry franchise. Shawshank Redemption, I feel like, was on AMC like once a day. So I've gotten a lot of, I got the taste of a lot of good cinema. That one wasn't one of them. I guess I should have gone to Turner Classic Movies or something instead.
That's correct.
Hey, didn't in the Dirty Harry movie, didn't the mayor of San Francisco get kidnapped at Candlestick Park?
Was it at Candlestick?
There's a Candlestick Park scene in one of the Dirty Harry movies where the mayor's at the Giants game, and then he gets kidnapped coming out of the stadium or something like that. Yeah.
I think it's the third one, because then they bring him to Alcatraz.
Yeah, yes, he does.
Yeah,
he's at a Giants game, and then I think he leaves and they kidnap him or something. Yeah, that's the best I got for you guys.
All right. Yeah. That's a good one. It's funny, and I like to learn things about people, and talking to Landen about the hunting, and just getting the emotion in his voice when you're on the mound. Now that I know more about you, and let's talk a little bit about your college life and what you liked in college and the reading that you do, because when you're on the mound in those pressure situations, that's the guy who's on the mound. So how does that all tie into the kind of person you are when you pitch, and what were you like in college as a student?
Well, to start, I feel like those are two very different people. I feel like, in between the white lines, the switch flips, and very different person for me. But I went into college as an education major, but graduated with a history degree. I switched. I loved history. I loved learning about it. I loved writing. I feel like not a lot of people will say that they love to write, but you give me a research paper or however many long essay, like I'll write it and I'll enjoy it. Specifically ancient history. I liked the fact that all four of us could argue 4 different points about the same topic. We could all be right, and it all just mattered how we framed our argument, who was better at being persuasive and framing the argument. And that was something that I really enjoyed doing. So that's why I did it. That's what it was.
Sean, you grew up in,
and I hate math. I just don't like math. So, I took my 2 required courses or whatever it was, and then I was done with that.
Well, what about the same teacher in 8 courses? What about that?
That was one of our antiquities professors. I loved taking his classes. It was very, very fun. He was really good at just creating that open environment and that open atmosphere for us to have those discussions on what we were reading or learning about or whatever it was at the time. And a lot of the subjects he was teaching really interested me. So, there was Hellenistic Greece, Christians in the Roman Empire, and a lot of courses in that time frame, and more specific and whatnot. But yeah, I loved taking his courses. So if I saw it was available, I signed up for it.
Fabulous.
Sean, you grew up in Minnesota. How'd you get to Kentucky, and where else could you have gone?
I got to Kentucky from a relentless recruiting coordinator who would send me a letter in the mail. I felt like almost once a day, if not once a week, trying to get me down on campus. And I went the summer before my senior year started in high school. I went down to Lexington. I just fell in love with it. I love Lexington, just driving into the city, just getting the rolling hills and just seeing it out there. Like I fell in love with the area first, and then getting on campus and seeing it all. It just kind of was the cherry on top of the cake for me. My other choices, I didn't really have too many, but the other 2 were either University of Michigan or University of Creighton.
Well, nice. Well, we got a comment here. Listen to this one. Sean, this is from Dan Cocamiglio. You see this? Sean, don't forget to tell, you can read it. Don't forget to tell everyone about the time he came face to face with the Lion King and wrestled him to the ground in Rupp Arena, and Rick Pitino had to pull you off the lion. Come on.
Dan, I don't know what you're doing, Dan.
I have no idea what that means.
Dan.
Oh, good. Thanks, Dan. Very
Dan,
good.
I know the wife is gone. Step away from the side.
We can't take Dan anywhere, can we?
No,
Hey,
Dan,
Sean, You're a man after my own heart right there, man. I tell you, I'm a history major as well. Matter of fact, I got my degree from history with a concentration on military history. So I love what you're talking about with the history. It's freaking awesome. I'm the same way. I love writing, especially when it's about a subject that you absolutely that you love. So that's awesome. As far as your college, was history one of the programs that you were looking at on what that college offered, or was this primarily just with the athletics?
So I went in initially. I was a secondary education social studies major. That's what I went in, and that's what I was my first 3 years there, all the way through my junior year. And then I got drafted in 2018, and still had that 1 year left. I still had my senior year left, and I went back during COVID. Actually, I took advantage of that time and went back and took classes online, and it was a full year left to finish my secondary education social studies degree and try and figure out how to do virtual student teaching, which sounded like a pain. Or I had 4 classes left if I switched to a history degree, and I could graduate with a history degree. So I switched. I made the switch. I just did that like fall winter semester at the end of COVID at the end of 2020, and graduated and got my history degree.
Wow.
So I always wanted to teach. That was kind of like if baseball wasn't a thing, if I was no good at it, or the sport didn't exist or whatever, like I wanted to teach. I wanted to coach. That was the plan. That was the thought in my head. So that's why I went in as a secondary education major initially.
Wow. What do you think about baseball history? Do you get into that?
I honestly, it's funny. I don't. I know, some broad stroke stuff, facts, players, teams, personnel, all this sort of stuff. But in terms of diving into the baseball history itself, I don't know. I guess it's nice to have some separation every once in a while. It's nice to kind of take a step back. You spend a lot of hours at the field. 162 is a long season. So having some hobbies or some interests that don't have to do with baseball is refreshing, at least for me.
Yeah, there's always a saying, back in the 20s, if you want to know America, you want to know baseball. That's baseball was the heart of America. And it's a sport you love, but it's a sport that'll break your heart. What do you think about it? Glenn, I'll ask you that. Baseball. You love it, but it's a sport. When you play it, it'll break your heart. When you follow it as a fan, it'll break your heart.
Well, I mean, Sean can attest to this as well as anybody. I mean, first of all, especially for a offensive player, it's a game of failure. So you start with that as a hitter, right? I know Sean likes to hear that it's a game of failure for the hitter, but that right there tells you it's difficult, right? A hitter gets his heart broken 7 out of 10 times, and he's pretty darn good. And I think that the grind of the season is like no other. It's nothing like any other sport. It's just no other sport is close to it. And even if you're not a player, Marty, we talked about this, whether you follow the team or whether you're a broadcaster, whether you're a coach or something, it's a grind for everybody, and that's a mental thing where you just got to keep grinding. So yeah. And plus baseball, I think, has the best history of any of the sports. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And it takes its history so serious, and historical numbers in baseball, but you don't know historical numbers in other sports, right? You don't. And I think that's what makes baseball, in my opinion, extra special, and the history of it extra special. And now too, lately with the Negro Leagues coming into play and the record books, I think that even adds to the intrigue of baseball history, right? I mean, because now you get almost like new books are being opened, and I think people are enjoying that a lot too.
Well, there's something amazing about baseball. We can talk about something, and Sean, you can appreciate this being a history guy, that happened in 1908. And we can talk about it in baseball. Something happened in 1908, and we can talk about it and see it happening. In 1908, there weren't planes yet. Come on, things that were so different in the country. But when it comes to baseball in our minds, we can understand what happened in 1908. And that's baseball to me. is that it's timeless. And when you get on the mound, for me, watching you, I could be watching Warren Spahn. I could be watching Robin Roberts. I could be watching Tom Seaver. You have that spot in the chain link of baseball, and that's the spot I like.
Yeah, that's well put, Marty, and I agree with that. That's what, like, and I think what you're saying is you could put, Sean could be put in a uniform, a Giants uniform in the 40s and 50s, and it would be the same to us, right?
Yeah.
Which what makes it cool. And seeing Sean in a 40s Giants uniform would be pretty cool, I think. Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know about wearing all that wool in like St. Louis or something on a day game, but I'll go for it.
Yeah, did you ever do the cabbage in your hat or anything like that in some of these hot places?
No. It's just you just chase shade, I guess, as much as possible. Yeah. No, I haven't done any of those tricks. I mean, I'm looked at it as one of the weird ones because I always wear long sleeves when I pitch. I mean, they're thinner, but I always wear sleeves. And I mean, we played 2 day games in St. Louis last year at the end of June. I mean, it was hot, and I'm out there wearing sleeves, and all the guys are looking at me like, "What are you doing? Like, are you crazy? Are you stupid? Like, what is exactly your problem?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm just comfortable in sleeves. That's all it is."
Hey, Sean, everybody knows you're 6'11", tallest guy in baseball. You must hear some bad jokes, right? Whether it be from fans or players, or I mean, were you just like, really? You're really going there with that one? I mean, Can you give us a couple where you just shake your head and go, "Where's the creativity here? Come on."
Good question. Good question.
I mean, whatever you could think of off the top of your head right now, I've probably heard it. I do think it's interesting or funny when people like kind of try and break the ice, like, "Oh, I'm sure you get this all the time." Okay, so you just add to it. Like I mean, like that makes it better because you acknowledge that, or when people come up to me and they go, "Well, I just have to know." You have to know, really. Like,
maybe I don't have to tell you, right?
Yeah, like, are you just gonna spontaneously combust if you don't ask me how tall I am? Like what exactly is gonna happen to you that you have to know, right? So those are, I get a little chuckle out of that every time. I've gotten a lot of very unique questions when it comes to that. I mean, I had a lady one time ask me if I was real.
That's pretty unique.
I don't know what she was thinking. I remembered we were on a travel tournament. We were in St. George, Utah. My dad and I stopped at a coffee shop before we're going to the ballpark, and some lady sitting by the front door. We're walking out. She grabs me by my arm, and she just, "Are you real?" I was like 14 or something at the time. I was like, "Yep, it's me. You're grabbing flesh right there on the arm. I'm real." There was a lady one time walking out of church that asked me when I found my coordination, and me being who I am, I was like, "Well, I'll let you know when I find it." So yeah, believe me, I've heard it all. I mean, very rarely is there an original comment, joke, question, or whatever have you about my height.
Yeah. You know what though? You had your coordination today because you made a great play. I was worried about your hamstring, but you made a great play.
So was I. I took a moment. I think I asked for a couple of new baseballs to reset the pitch clock a couple of times just to kind of really make sure that my hamstring is still intact actually. And
I was worried about that.
Yeah, that's why it's important to stretch and warm up before games, right? Because that was interesting. I didn't know I could kind of go into the splits like that. So now I can.
I don't know if Ryan, our producer, could find that, but it'd be fun to take a look at it.
Well, he made the play.
He made it. Yes, it ended.
Got
All right. If you got it, if you got it, just let us know and you can play it. But
yeah, I'll take a game or two.
All right. Or Eric, you can help him.
Sure.
Giant Hot Takes Podcast wants to know what flavor of sunflower seed were you throwing at Bivens the other day when he was on the air?
Good question.
I believe those were dill pickle seeds.
those are good.
I enjoy doing stuff like that, especially during spring training. It's a little bit more loose, and Biv's just such a nice guy that I don't think he would actually yell at me while I was doing that to him. But it's one of those just harmless little pranks to have fun with. Guy puts the headset on and you just mess with him during it and see how long he can keep his focus and all that sort of stuff. So it's just, to me, it's just harmless fun just having the dugout.
So knowing all this about your background and the things that you like to talk about, who's your best listener? Who kind of hangs there with you and sort of goes with you?
Well, because I talk too much, everybody's a great listener. They all have to hear it. My catch partner is Ryan Walker, and I got my locker right next to him right now in camp, so he catches a lot of it. Bivens too, locker right next to him. But I'd probably say Tristan Beck, because he talks just as much. So we can have some good, long, drawn-out conversations about absolutely nothing all of the time. So that keeps it fun, keeps it light, keeps us going, I guess. So yeah, those guys.
It's a good one.
Sean, how's Verlander been?
Oh, he's been awesome. He's just been great. I love how he signed, he came in and day one of camp, like he's making relationships, he's getting to know guys, he's buying into the culture, he's just making himself another one of the guys in the clubhouse. I mean, nobody has to talk about or even really acknowledge his accolades or his trophy shelf that he's got. We all know what that is, and he just kind of pushes that aside a little bit, and he's just another one of the guys in the clubhouse. And he's in there, he's playing chess with guys, he's talking pitching with guys, he's setting up events for us. Like we went to laser tag early in camp. He set that up for everybody, for guys to go to, and it's just awesome having him there and just buy in right away.
Hey, Sean, real quick. Everyone has a story on how they got involved in the game of baseball. Who was it that got you interested in the game of baseball? For me specifically, it was my father. I mean, I think that's kind of the norm for little boys, having a father that enjoys baseball. Who got you into the game? What made you fall in love with it?
I just fell in love with it. I mean, from a very young age. I mean, I think if my dad was here, he would tell you the same thing. Like he didn't, if he pushed me in that direction, he really didn't have to push hard at all. It was just, I always used to tell people, because they would ask me, how come you don't play basketball, right? You're so tall. Why don't you play basketball? It's like, I love basketball. I love playing basketball. I still miss playing basketball to this day, but baseball has always been my passion. Baseball has always had my heart. It just, day one, for as long as I can remember, it was baseball for me.
Well, people should know he was the SEC Pitcher of the Year. This is just not, fooling around. That was very serious in college, what you accomplished on the diamond. All right, we're going to take a break. And the next question, I love these questions that they're in the media guide. The language that Sean Hjelle would like to learn. Now, you know a little bit about him. What do you think his answer is going to be? This is going to be fun. We'll come back right after these messages.
Hey, it's Marty, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to discover the islands, and of course that means River Islands. They're celebrating 10 years of bringing the good life to Bay Area homebuyers. What's more, Del Webb, one of America's best-known builders for active adults in the 55 and over crowd, has just opened 3 neighborhoods at River Islands. They're building a huge community center on its own lake, all for buyers looking for a great lifestyle and a little less maintenance. I like that. Homes are priced from the 600,000s. Start your tour online at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? It sure is for me. Hello again, Marty Lurie here to talk about my good friends at Georgie Brothers, the largest family-owned furniture store in the entire Bay Area. Right now and good through March 17th, you can save hundreds of dollars on my favorite line of furniture, Stressless. I own Stressless furniture, and I can tell you it's the most comfortable place to sit in my home. Visit them at georgiebrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. And remember, tell them that Marty sent you.
All right, Eric, great job putting these
Thanks, sir.
together. Really
Appreciate
appreciate it. Very nice. That was smooth. All right, the language that Sean Hjelle would like to learn. Go ahead. Well, let me, before you do that, Eric, take a guess.
Well, let's Cantonese. Let's go Cantonese.
Cantonese. All right, you must be hungry. Go ahead. And
French. I'm saying French. He wants to speak French.
all right, I do know the answer, but I'll let Sean give it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'd love to learn a lot of them. It would be very, very cool because I like to travel, and knowing the language would be very cool. But I believe my answer on that day was Japanese, and I still stand by that. But I mean, any given day, any given time. I mean, like I said, I'm an ancient history guy. I'd love to go visit a lot of the ruins and monuments and whatnot that are in the Middle East. So knowing Arabic would be really cool. Knowing Hebrew would be amazing. So, but that day I did say Japanese. I still stand by it. Learning and knowing Japanese would be very awesome, very cool. I would like that. It is a tough language for sure to learn. We have a couple of Japanese trainers, and I've tried to learn some words, and I can't remember any of them. So I'll maybe have to write some down.
How's your Korean doing?
Worse than the Japanese. Worse. I feel so bad. I'm trying to learn some Korean to be able to, pass some cordials right now, with Jung-Hoo, and I ask his translator all the time. I try and ask Jung-Hoo, and I feel bad because I'm just asking the same questions over and over again, and I can't seem to remember any of the words. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll start a study group with people who are interested in learning Korean so we can talk with Jung-Hoo. I will say Jung-Hoo's English is much better this year. He has been working on his English. It's also a hard language to learn for a non-English speaker. So, but yeah, he said this offseason, he said last year that he was gonna work on his English this offseason, and he definitely has.
Yeah, you know what? I heard that too. In fact, the great media relations people, Matt Chisholm and everybody with the Giants, said he's really gotten good, and they think that next year he will probably be able to do interviews in English, which is pretty cool if you think about it. And we probably don't realize how difficult that is and what a difficult language our language is. But for him to work that hard where, at some point soon, maybe not this year, but he's going to be able to do interviews in English. And wouldn't that be special? I mean, plus he's my breakout guy, Marty. Remember, that's who I said was going to be the breakout guy this year. So, yeah,
I just think his personality is outstanding for a guy to come to this country and have pressure. He doesn't seem to have any pressure on him at all. No. He just plays his game. And he's got a nickname, the grandson of the wind. I mean, he's got that. And, and here he is. They're putting him third in the lineup, on a team that people are starting to get behind and get excited about. I'll ask Sean, what's your impression of Jung-Hoo just as a person and as a ball player?
Well, as a person, he's amazing. He's always smiling. He's saying hi. He's happy to be around. He's happy to be here, and I definitely think part of that for sure is he's back and he's healthy, right? Just happy to be playing again. Happy to be putting the uniform on, putting the spikes on, and getting out there and being healthy and playing. But it's just it seems so natural for him. Like it's like Matt Chapman's the same way. Like they belong out there, right? Jung-Hoo belongs on a baseball field. It's seemingly what he was born to do, what he was meant to do, and it's really fun to watch him play. He seemingly, in the outfield doesn't have a misstep. His first step is always great, and I mean he ran. I'll never forget. He ran down a ball in Philadelphia last year, in that left center gap area, whatever, where that hard concrete wall comes in. and he made a catch, and anybody else would have had to like full out like Superman dive and be parallel with the ground, and he made it running. And it was one of the more impressive, if not the most impressive catches I've ever seen live. It was just so fun to watch him play, and unfortunately when he got hurt last year, so it's great to have him back. It's great to have him in the lineup every day and playing center field, and I think him being your breakout player this year is a pretty great choice.
Yeah, I don't even remember who I picked. I think I picked Ramos maybe, because I told him this. He made it through the whole year last year. I mean, the guy was banged up. He was sent out in the first call. He became an all-star. Then he got hurt, and he never quit. In other words, this guy played the whole year. I think he's my breakout guy. What do you think of that?
Another great pick. I mean, Ramos, I was drafted the year after him, but I've been his teammate every year I've been in pro ball, and he's always been so fun to watch. I mean, he's just his raw talent and his raw ability is always been so impressive. I don't know if there's anybody else in the league really that can hit a ball backside, right center gap, right field as a right-handed hitter like he can. The ball it's just different off his bat. It's special. It's a one of one thing, and Ramos has always been hungry, and it was the minor leagues, it was hungry to get to the big leagues, and now that he's in the big leagues, he was hungry to be an all-star, became an all-star, and it hasn't stopped. He's just hungry, and he wants more and more and more, and it's awesome. It's fun to watch him do that, and he's another guy who's always just lively in the clubhouse and smiling and saying hi to everybody, and it's fun.
And Marty, I think your point about him making it through the season and playing all the way through, I think that's a great point for a couple of reasons. One, just getting through September is hard for any player, and he did it for the first time, but he also had to kind of fight through some injuries late in the year, which you have to do at the big league level. And he had to fight through kind of a second half slump a little bit. The last couple months he struggled some, could have been because of the injury, but guys have to kind of play through that stuff.
And show up.
He did all of that last year in the last 6 weeks of the season, and I think that will make a difference for him this year.
Yeah.
He somehow showed up in better shape this year, which I didn't know was possible. He's just raw. I mean, I don't want to fight anybody, but if there was one person that I had to pick where it's like I don't want to mess with the guy ever, it's definitely Ramos. Holy cow.
He brings that emotion too. You see it. I mean, he bat flips a walk. You see him in the dugout when there's something huge happening on the field. He's out there on the rail cheering on, man. It's great to watch him play. I was so happy for the kid to see him get his run and become an all-star. What's it like, as a pitcher? You got your left side of the infield that's pretty good. Does it change your approach at all, knowing that, hey, I got that left side that's locked down? I could kind of be a little bit more, not as pinpoint, so to speak, but it could be a little bit more forgiving that you got that left side of the infield locked down.
I wouldn't say that I've necessarily tried to like change that or hey, make sure they hit it over there, right? Because we got a good right side of the infield as well, right? So as a ground ball guy, with looking at the defense we have in our infield, it's awesome. Hit it to any one of those guys, But bringing Willie in, who's just like I said with Justin, is another guy that just bought in right away and is just becoming one with the clubhouse and becoming a part of that culture just day one right away. He's brought. I made this comment to Bomo the other day. Chappie was always so fun to watch. He's always been a great player. He's Gold Glove, Platinum Glove, All-Star level player, and he's having fun out there while he's doing it. And he's so fun to watch. But having Willie there now with him, it's brought out this side of him where it's truly like they're both just little kids in the backyard playing the game that they love. I mean, they're out there, they're joking,
Awesome.
They're laughing with each other, they're having fun doing it. They're setting themselves up to be able to cover each other's weaknesses and accentuate their strengths and how they position and everything. And they're just kids in the backyard playing, and it's so fun to watch.
That's awesome.
I mean, they're laughing at each other running off the field like, hey, you took my ground ball. No, you took my ground ball, and all that sort of stuff. So it's really, really fun.
Yeah. How do you like the identity? I think Glenn pointed this out a couple of weeks ago. The new identity of the team, steal a bag, lay a bunt down, make sure you go first to third. Schmidt the other day, what do you have? 2 sacrifice flies, and I think someone else had one. I think it was 3 in the game. The game is a little different the way the Giants are playing it this spring. I know it's still a tough game, but they're trying to do something different.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you mentioned earlier, like big focus for our offense was situational hitting, right? That was a focal point for them coming in, and but you also have to put yourself in those situations, right? You got to be able to put yourself in those situations to get that situational hit. And so that's just a piece that they go hand in hand together, right? That comes along with it. And so, you got to work on the situational hitting, but how do we get to that point? And it's been really fun to watch, and especially in spring training, like steal a base, get thrown out. It's spring training. We're working on these things. Maybe you got a bad jump. Maybe you didn't read it right. Maybe he did a slide step, and just picking up those patterns on the hitters. Obviously, I'm not out there doing that, so I can't attest to all of the things that they may be seeing, thinking about, or working on. But for the purposes of spring training, for what we're here for, absolutely work on those things. Lay it on the bunt. Go for the extra base. Push yourself and figure out what exactly you can and cannot do. And knowing yourself as a player and your role on the team. I mean, that was always what I heard about those World Series teams with the Giants. Every single guy knew exactly what they brought to the table. And so they never went outside of their reaches. They stayed in their lane. They got their job done and trusted the guy to the left and guy to the right to do the same thing. And I think that's something that having Buster now, and obviously he was on those teams. He was one of those players that, knew his role, knew what he brought to the table. I think having him now at the helm is something that's just trickling down. And, Bob's, in my opinion, one of the best managers in the game, and he accentuates that, and he's able to bring that out in guys, and our entire coaching staff. I mean, they're just so good at what they do and teaching the parts of the game that they know, that it's just bringing this extra level and this next level of play out in every single one of us.
Yeah.
And you know what, Sean, I mean, there's no doubt, if you look at last year, you guys doing 80 games, you got more depth in the starting rotation. The bullpen's going to be good. You got a lot of depth down there too. And that offense, if they just are better situationally and better fundamentally, there's no reason why this team can't go from 80 wins to 90 wins.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get 90 wins, you're probably going to be a wild card team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, just watching them play in spring training, and I understand it's spring training, but they're so much better offensively in different situations than they were last year, that I just don't think 8, 9, 10 more wins. If you do that, I think that's very, very possible to do, because there's so many games, so many big league games are, 3-2, 4-3. Whereas if you just do a couple things better fundamentally, you're going to win half of those games. And I've seen that in spring training, and I know you guys have too. And if that can carry over into the regular season, I don't think there's any question this team has a very good shot to be a wild card team.
No, not at all. I mean, like I said before, especially at our ballpark, we play 82 games at
Yep.
Oracle, and
Yep.
it's always going to be a close game there. It's going to be a lot of 1, 2, 3-run ball games. And I think somebody said this early in camp. I think last year, whether we won or lost, I think we played in like 90 or 91 3-run ball games.
Sure.
One or
I
two
mean,
run, one
yeah,
or two run game, 90.
Yeah, 90. You flip a couple of those runs around one way or the other. You get the situational hit, you get the situational out. You get the ground ball that goes your way and get that bounce. I mean, just right then and there, that 80 can turn into 90 real quick.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think like you said, that 90 is very attainable, and I mean, why stop there, right? But it's one at a time. It starts March 27th, I believe, against Cincinnati, and it's just one at a time, and it goes from there. And I think that's something that obviously is hard to do over the course of 162. It's hard to take it one at a time when you got that many, but like I said, this team just showed up ready to work and ready to go. And I think that's something that we'll be able to kind of, have that sort of tunnel vision, so to speak, and just keep it one at a time and just go inning to inning and game to game. And I think at the end of 162, we'll be able to look up and really enjoy with the work that we just did this year.
Yeah. Well, you can't win without pitching. You got pitching and you got defense. If you don't have it, you can't win. So you got those things. You have those things. Now it's a question of going out and playing the game the way you just described it. And I think that's where the season is for me. I'm glad you opened up in Cincinnati. Glenn, Eric, Cincinnati was always the first game. It was such a big deal. The city would close down.
Had a parade.
Parade, right? And you open up against Cincinnati. Do they still do that? Is that still?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would hope they still do it. I mean, aren't they the oldest franchise in the major leagues? I believe.
1970.
But it's a great place to open because it does have great history. So the Reds have such a terrific history, and that's not a bad place to open. So Sean, just come back with a 4-2 road trip, and we'll be happy. Okay, that's all we're asking.
Good.
All right, we'll let you go, Sean. It's great having you on. It really is. I love talking ball with you, and it's so important. No, it's so important for people to know you, and like I say, when they look on the mound, they know as you look in and you're pitching to Ohtani, you're thinking about Ohtani, but on the other side, you're thinking about the Roman Empire. I like that. Now I have a different view of what's going on. But hey, to stand on that mound and pitch to Ohtani and do the things you're doing in the scheme of baseball, you're part of a tremendous history of baseball. So congratulations. Good for you. Good for you. But I appreciate you being on.
No, of course.
Thanks,
I enjoy it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Absolutely. A pleasure.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. All right. Take care.
See ya.
All right. Take care.
Take care, Sean.
Fabulous.
Yeah. What a good guy, huh?
Man, he's awesome. He's awesome.
To learn now about him and what makes him tick.
Yeah.
You don't want to sit next to him in the bullpen. That's for sure.
Well, not for 162 games. Maybe every other game, maybe. But what's fun about it, and Marty, you said it, but it is fun to get to know these guys. And you find out that most of them are pretty well-rounded, right? And when you find somebody like Sean, who's got a lot there, right? You don't have to talk baseball with him for an hour. You can talk many different things. And quite frankly, us in the media, those are kind of the guys that, you find kind of interesting because there's more to him than just what he does in the baseball field. So that's a good guest. Nice job, Marty.
He's good. He's a good pitcher.
He is good. Absolutely.
He's gone to another level. He gets a lot of swing and miss now.
He throws strikes.
Reliable. He's an important part of this team. And I like it. I'm glad to have him on. All right, we'll come back and wrap it up. Let's take another break. And Glenn and I and Eric will wrap it up as next week, the Dodgers play the Cubs. And I'm going to ask these guys if they're going to stay up to 3 a.m. to watch the first pitch. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Gene Bagato checked in from the Tides up in Bodega Bay, and he said while the crab season hasn't produced great quantities, the crabs that have been delivered have been excellent. Down at the wharf, fresh crab is readily available for guests to enjoy, either in the restaurant or in the fish market to take home, along with all of the other varieties of seafood delicacies. And across the highway up at the inn, large, comfortable rooms are readily available at winter rates for those who want to get away but don't want to deal with 8 hours driving up to Tahoe. So if you're looking to get away for the day or a weekend, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay.
All right.
Very good. Hey, next week, come on, Cubs and Dodgers next week. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
Looking forward to it. Baseball starting.
Go Cubbies.
Anyone staying up to watch the first pitch?
No.
No, I don't like the Dodgers.
Oh boy.
No, I will not. Although I think it's cool that games are starting already. It's kind of like, wow. But even, I mean, the Giants are 2 weeks from today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
2 weeks from today, we'll know if they won, opening day, so I think the baseball season, that was 2-3 years ago, maybe they kind of started, a little bit earlier than normal. And now we start, in the last week of March, but it's exciting. 2 weeks left. And, it's fun to watch the roster decisions now because things are starting to tighten up a little bit. And there's always a surprise, right? There's always a roster surprise. I don't know where that's going to be with the Giants this year. Maybe they won't have one, but there always seems to be like an interesting, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. I don't know that that'll happen this year, but it's always a possibility.
Yeah.
It's fun watching that outfield competition between Matos and McRae, because McRae, since we talked, the guy's kind of doing right. He looks like he took a little swing out. Now he's getting on base and he's wreaking havoc. Love it.
I know.
Well,
I mean, it's hey, I think that's a legitimate. I still think it'll be Matos, but I kind of thought like Eric did the other day. I was reading about McRae, and you're like, well, I don't think that would happen, but he's got a lot of things that you could use.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Left.
It's fun. But Matos has had a great spring too. It's just been kind of quiet. Nobody's really talked too much about him, but he's really looked good this spring. So good problem to have, you guys. Worst case scenario is you send McRae to Sacramento and he gets 500 at bats and starts in center field every day. That would be, as we said, I want Luciano in left. I want McRae in center. And if Eldridge is there, I want him at first, or if he's in AA, wherever. But I want those guys playing every day, grinding, and getting 500 at bats. That would be huge for this entire Giants organization.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you said it last week. Remember, you were talking to Matt Williams, and he talked about McRae laying the ball down and using his speed, and he's starting to do it.
Little bit. Yep. And that to me is, it's not a physical thing. He can do it because he's showing that he can do it. But like Matt said, it's a mental thing. You have to get it in your head that let's use this part of my game a little bit more, and then that'll help the overall game. And he was talking about McRae and his speed, so
let's try to get McRae on next week.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's an off day if we do the show on Thursday. I'd like to get McRae on.
All right.
Right on.
He would be a real good guest to have on and talk about this. All right. Well, guys, this was terrific as always. If you're listening to the show, right, Eric, subscribe.
Right. It's all right. You like what you see, make sure you hit that like. If you hit that subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell, because then every time that we go live.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. And I'll be on Sunday. And Glenn, we got to get you in the rotation on the Sunday show too.
Perfect. Thanks, Marty.
We got to make some predictions. We'll start doing that. We only have, let's see, it's 2 weeks from today, right? Yeah. So maybe next week we may have to do some predictions. So think about it. Maybe next week we'll do some
I'll have a win total for you.
All right. Very good. All right. Love it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Ryan, thank you. All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you, Eric.